Hi, hello everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another Styles UK Friday Lunchtime Live. I'm very excited for today's video because we're talking about one of my favorite topics, and that is how to achieve accurate pressure when heat printing. Now, we always talk about the three major elements when heat printing, so that's time, temperature, and pressure. And today we're going to cover the pressure element, which is one of the most important things. So I'm very excited to get into it today. But before we do, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, what your business name is, if you're joining us, if it's the morning or the afternoon, depending if you're in the US or the UK, let us know who you are. And yeah, if you have any questions throughout the video, then don't forget to comment them down below, because I have got Beth with me today who can read them out for you all, and we can make sure that we answer any questions you might have. But before we get started, I just want to mention the trailer that you just saw was for our athleisure printing event, which we've got coming up in just over a week time, a week on Tuesday, I believe. It's the 21st of November, and we're going to be hosting it with Dry, and it's the UK's only athleisure heat printing event of the year. Good morning, Darren. Nice to see you again. Thanks for commenting. Yes, so the athleisure event we're super excited about. It is free, which is fantastic, and we're going to have Dry, Ralawise, and of course Styles UK there, and it's going to be everything that you need to know to print on athleisure garments. So we see a lot of people struggle with things like scorch marks, the pressure that goes wrong, just how to print on more sensitive fabrics and how to create a product that you can sell into the athleisure market, as it is a real growing segment of the apparel industry. So I'm very, very excited about that. We're doing an afternoon and an evening session as well, because we heard all of you when you said that if you did this as a side hustle and you couldn't come during the day, or whether your business is just so busy you can't make time to come out, we are hosting a 6 p.m. session in the evening, as well as our usual 2 p.m. afternoon session. So you can come along whichever time suits you best and join us for the event. So without further ado, let's get stuck into today's live event. So we're going to be talking all about pressure today, which, like I said, is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about it. But we're going to talk about why it's important for quality and longevity of your transfer. Now, there are two main problems that I tend to see when we're talking about pressure. One is people put too little pressure onto their heat press, and the other is people put too much pressure onto their heat press. And we're just going to cover a little bit about why both of these are not ideal options when you're heat printing. So too light pressure, if somebody's heat printing and you might see like a press box mark or something, you might panic and think, oh, I'll lighten the pressure off a bit to, reduce the scorching on the garment. The best option when you're in that scenario is to, number one, attend the athleisure events. We can teach you how to print without scorch marks. Number two is to choose the product that's right for your garment. So, for example, if you are fusing onto something at medium pressure and it's scorching, maybe you need an extra layer of protection, like a Grit Flex pad. Maybe you need a lower heated pattern, or maybe you just need a lower temperature transfer. So we always recommend our ultra color heat transfers for this, because they do fuse at 120 degrees, which is super, super low temp, especially for those more sensitive garments like polyester, nylon, anything like that sort of leggings, sweatshirt, fleecy material. The other thing as well is that if you don't put enough pressure onto your transfer when you're applying, it reduces the chance of the actual transfer adhering to the garment. And when your customer, it might peel okay, it might not, it might come off when you peel it straight away. But if it does peel okay, the chances of it lasting on that garment more than a handful of washes are very, very slim. Your customer will most likely get the garment, think, oh, that looks fine, that looks great, wear it a few times, wash it, and it will start to crack and peel and fade off of the garment, which is not what you want, especially when your customers won't necessarily tell you about this. So think about how many times you've ordered something and it's not necessarily been right or what you wanted. How many times did you actually send it back, or did you actually make a complaint, or did you just go somewhere else and find another product? That's probably what your customers are going to do, and that's what we're trying to help you avoid. So make sure you don't put too light a pressure onto your press. The second one is putting too much pressure onto your heat press. Now, this can also have similar issues in terms of your transfer. So if you're over pressuring, it makes no difference to the longevity in terms of it will still create issues for your transfer. So if you're Pressing it too hard, it can sometimes lead to the adhesive maybe oozing out of the transfer slightly, and then that causes it to lift a little bit. It is possible if you've overpressured it and it's been embedded too far into the garment for it to still crack and peel when you're washing it. So again, just because you've really crushed it into the garment, that will not have the opposite effect of light pressure where you think, oh, it will just stay on there for longer. The reason that we give you such specific application instructions is because we've tried and tested through multiple means to get the recipe exactly right. Cutting off time, increasing temperature, putting more pressure behind it to make it fuse doesn't save you any time or money in the long run. It just creates more problems. So always stick to the tried and tested recipe that we give you. And the other thing as well, if you are overpressuring your heat press, is the amount of damage that it is going to do to your press. So it's quite difficult to do with like an air-powered machine, like the Joule that I have with me here. Even though you can increase the air pressure on this, you wouldn't necessarily need to, because it does it for you. It automatically adjusts what's underneath, so you're not manually changing your pressure as much, meaning if you don't set it really high initially, then you'll probably be fine. But with something like the Auto Open, for example, where you are manually changing your pressure with every garment that you do differently, with every platen, pillow, etc., if you overpressure it, it will buckle over time and it will damage your heat press. And this just means that you're going to have to repair it more. You're going to have to, you know, eventually it will start to buckle and then you won't be able to do proper prints. And if your machine, you know, breaks within a couple of years and you think, oh, why is that? It's the constant strain of putting too much pressure through it. Heat printing should not be hard work. It should be easy. You don't have to put your entire body weight behind the press to close it. I'll show you what I mean on the Auto Open before we get started. I'll just move our accessories out the way. So let's see what pressure this Auto Open is on at the moment. So at the moment, there's no pressure behind that. And it didn't automatically open because it didn't engage. So what I'm going to do is just turn the knob on the top and give it a bit more pressure. Let's just turn that from 12 to 3 so that we don't burn the platen in the process. Still no pressure. And as you can see, it doesn't auto open if it doesn't engage. So we're going to lock it down further. The reason this is so light is because before we came onto this live, I was swapping out the different platens and testing what we were going to be doing today. So it's had a bit of maneuvering already. So we'll just try that once more. See, that has now locked in at 3 and will automatically open. Now, medium pressure for Hotronix presses is around 4 to 6. So that is generally what we've used majority, if not everything at. The point that this is at now, which is a 3, is probably okay, because once we put a t-shirt on here and once we put a transfer and our release paper, that will probably add enough thickness for it to then read as a 4, which is medium pressure. So you can add a teeny bit more of a turn if you want. Let's see if we can get it to a 4. Oh, that's gone to a 5. See, that's how sensitive it is. I literally moved it just over a quarter of a turn and it's gone up from 3 to 5 already. So it's probably at the top end of 3. So just going to loosen it off a little bit so that we don't have too much going on. So what I'm doing here is the Hotronix over center pressure. Now, this is one of the main features on the Hotronix presses that makes them the world's best selling heat presses. And what this means is that you can adjust the amount of pressure that comes through the press onto the platen. And the other good thing as well is that it closes down completely flat. So rather than like the import presses, they close at the back first and then kind of come down like this, Hotronix ones come down completely flat like so. So you can see if I'm loading this on, every single part of the press of the platen is getting the right amount of pressure on here, and it's making sure that every single element can be fused perfectly with the right time and pressure. So it's really easy to do, like I showed you. All you have to do is twist this knob on the top here to adjust the pressure. And the thing that I love about the Auto Open is that it gives you a digital readout as well. So if I close this down, the little red number here shows us what pressure it's on, which means that when you put your garment or you put your transfer on there, you can automatically see if it's too high, too low on your pre-press, and then you can edit it as needed. So that's a really, really simple one to get started with. So let's start with the basic fuse. So I'm just going to grab a t-shirt. So here we just have a standard Bella Canvas t-shirt. I think this is their 3001. Yeah, their bestseller. And this doesn't have any obstructions on it at all. So the reason I wanted to cover pressure today isn't just to talk about Hotronix has the best pressure, and this is why it's important. There are so many garments out there like denim jackets, hoodies that have pockets on the front, hoodies with zips, things with collars, buttons, pockets, etc. So we want to make sure that you can heat print across all of these garments without having any concerns whatsoever. Oh, you've got another comment from Carrie. Good morning, Carrie. It's nice to have you with us. So what I'm going to start with is the basics, right? So I've talked about Hotronix over center pressure, which is guaranteed across every single Hotronix machine from the Max Clam to the Dual LED Fusion. And this ensures that, you know, the pressure on the press is just perfect every single time and makes it super easy for you to do. Starting with the t-shirt, this is the most basic print for pressure that we can do. So I'm going to thread it onto the platen. This is the Hotronix 40x50 press, and then this is the platen that it comes with. I haven't swapped this out for a smaller one. I haven't added anything on. It's got the quick slip on there, but that doesn't affect the pressure at all. So what we're just going to do is open up our t-shirt, load it onto our press, like so. And hopefully you can see on the video the fact that here we have nothing on the press bed. If I was to pull this down and have the neckline on the platen, this would cause an issue for our application. The reason being is because the seam in the stitching here is higher than the point of the t-shirt, only slightly, but that's how accurate Hotronix presses are. And that's how detailed you want to be when you're fusing, because you want everything to apply perfectly. So what you do here is you're just going to slide this off so that your collar here and the side seams of your t-shirt, make sure they're off as well, are completely off the platen, and then you're left with a completely flat surface to put your transfer on. Now, like I said, this t-shirt is the starting point. This is the basic and the easy one because there's no obstructions other than the basic neckline and shoulder seams here. So this is really simple, it fits on the platen really, really well, and it allows us to fuse with no issues whatsoever. So that's on a 5 at the moment, which is fine. Just going to adjust my settings on here so that we can do a fuse. So we've got this set to 145 degrees, 3-second pre-press, 12-second main press. So let me just grab a transfer. We're using GTF today, absolute favorite transfers at the moment. And look at the detail on this one as well. You've probably seen Andy wearing this design. We had a few of them printed up, but they're my favorites. So we've pre-pressed the garment. We're just going to load the transfer on like so. This is quite tricky doing this on the side, but I don't want to stand here because I'll block everyone's view. And then we did have a paper. Here we go.
I think we can let you off if it's wonky.
Yeah, no judgment on the placement here, people. No judgment on the placement. So we'll fuse that for, oh, that's gone on to the 3. We'll just lock it on again. 12 seconds is the application time for that one. And that means that the transfer will be completely flat onto the t-shirt here because there's no obstructions, there's no raised areas on the platen. We made sure that they were all completely off so that when we do this, we can just peel it off like so, nice and easy. Save that for after. And we have a perfect fuse. So that was really, really simple. That's just how you do your basic t-shirt, right? Now let's move on to something a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to move on to the heat printing pillow. So the reason that we have accessories like these, we do have lower platens, but we'll get onto those in a minute. Sorry, Beth, I keep moving.
That's okay.
The reason that we have these is so that you can isolate print areas. Now, pillows and lower platens do a very similar job. It just depends on what you personally prefer and what would work best with the garment you're using. So let's move on to something that has an obstruction on the front and see what we can do to fix that. So let's just take a hoodie. This one is, I believe, a JH001. It is from Audis, Just Hoods. Now, if I was printing on the back of this, which we have already done, prime example, we would not need to change out the platen because, as you can see, I can load this onto my press on the back, thread it on so that it's just the one layer. And even though this has got a hood and thick seams and everything else, because of the size of the print area, that's completely flat. I do not need to do anything apart from make sure that my pressure is right on the heat press. However, if I was to spin this around like so, super easy with the quick slip and threadability, you can see that I've got two problems here. The first problem is the pocket, which isn't just a seam, but it's a second layer of fabric on a hoodie is a bit thicker than a t-shirt. So that creates an obstruction. If I was to pull it down to try and get the hoodie off, I've then got the issue of the neckline at the top. So I've got the toggles here, there's the little eyelets that it goes into, there's the seam, there's the bulk of the hoodie. So we've got problems here, right? So you have two options. You can either swap out the lower platen for something smaller, which I am going to show you how to do in a little bit, or you can take your handy pillow and you can load it to raise your print area. So what I'm going to do is just pull this off to the point where I can slide my pillow in. Pull the garment back on. I'm going to have to do this facing the right way. Sorry, everyone. Pull it to the point where you can find where you want to print. And as you can see here, hopefully you can see this on the video, this pillow has raised, can you see that?
There we go, we're zoomed in.
So this pillow here has raised the pocket, has raised the print area, so the pocket is hanging off the back. So now when I put my fingers around this pillow, that's the highest point. The print area is the highest point of the garment. This is irrelevant. We've had this hanging off the end, so that's fine. I'll bring it forward a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. But this here is now raised, okay? So this pillow is not anywhere that is going to cause an issue for us. So if I just pop that back on to how I can print on it. And to be fair, even if you did have this slightly on here, I wouldn't recommend it because obviously it's the metal eye holes and you don't really want the heat touching that. But if you were to have a little bit on the press, it still wouldn't affect it because this is the highest point now. So we're just going to make sure that that's all straight. Cool. Next step, because we've added something in here, we need to make sure that the pressure isn't too heavy. So again, don't put too much pressure on if you don't need to. If you add a layer of fabric, or in this case, an accessory, your pressure will read out higher because there's more in the way here. So when you pull this press down, it's going to have more to deal with. So we're going to lighten this pressure up a few turns, give it a pre-press to test. See, that's on a 9, which is way too high. So we're just going to give it another couple of turns. And that's now on a 4. Perfect. Now, the pillow does squish down slightly when you press it, but you can see it comes straight back up again. And there are absolutely no issues with the print area. So let's get another transfer. Let's do a very similar style one. Where's the camera? There it is. So let's do another DTF transfer. I'm going to place it on top of where the pillow is on the raised print area, taking the release paper, putting that over the top. And then when I pull this down, it's got a pressure of 5. So it has gone up 1 because we've put the transfer and the release paper on there. It's counting down 12 seconds, which is perfect. And then it will pop itself open. We can peel the transfer and it will be perfectly applied. Pull it from this corner so I don't burn myself. Just like that. No, oh, where's the camera? No transfer left on that residue, on that carrier, sorry. And then once we remove this garment from the press, the pillow should stay on there. You can see that we've got a perfectly applied, where am I going? Perfectly applied transfer here. I'm holding it wrong. This is quite difficult. There we go. Perfectly applied transfer. And we didn't have to change the platen out. So we left the pocket on the platen, but we just managed to apply it around it. So there's no damage here to the pocket whatsoever. There's no press marks. It's gone on really, really well. And that's just a quick, easy and fairly affordable way to do it. These pillows start from just £25 and they are fairly decent size and thickness as well. So they can work with like zippers, pockets. I think I've used them with like thicker seams on a denim jacket before as well. So they are quite handy. However, if you want to be a bit more technical, because obviously that worked very well, but with the neckline of the hoodie being slightly smaller on the platen, we had to load it in from the back, which takes longer. And when you're printing multiple garments in a day, you want to be able to make sure you're maximizing efficiency, right? So if there's a quicker and more efficient way to print around this pocket, of course, we're going to want to do that. So let's remove the pillow from the situation for a minute, and we're going to take a lower platen. Now this is a 28 by 38 platen, and as you can see on the back here, they have interchangeable, the screws that slip into the press are the same on every single platen. So you can swap them out as and when you please. So Beth, I'm going to give this to you actually, because I don't have anywhere to put it at the moment. So really easy, pull that platen out of there. So this is the 40 by 50. You can see there's nothing on there anymore. Thank you very much. And we're going to take our smaller one. So like I said, 28 by 38. I did actually pull this off of the other press that we have in the room, but we have over, is it 14 types of platen now? 15?
I believe it's 15.
15. We've got a decent amount of interchangeable platens. And then I'm just going to put the pin into the hole in the press, lock it into place like so, and then there's a lever on this side of the press that you just want to lock into place like so, and that secures the platen. So now we have a smaller print area for our hoodie to go onto. Before we load our hoodie, however, we have changed the surface area of our print area. So issue number one with the pillow was that we added an extra layer of thickness in there. So we needed to make sure that the pressure on the press was lighter so that it wasn't too heavy when we pulled the clam down. Here it's a slightly different situation. Because we've changed the surface area that the top platen is coming down onto, the pressure would have changed again. So if I bring this down now, there's no pressure readout on that whatsoever. Won't even lift up. So let's bring it down a few turns, see how far we have to come. That's locked in at a 1, so we're getting there. A little bit more. And we have a 4, okay? So regardless of which platen you're swapping it out from, if you go from a 40 by 50, which was the original platen on this press, to say a 40 by 40, so only 10 centimeters in difference, you still want to double check your pressure before you apply anything, mainly because any change of surface area to this bottom zone will affect the pressure of your press. And because you have to manually change the pressure on the auto open, it's best to do that before you start printing because you don't want to ruin any of your garments. We do always say that pre-pressing is a good idea to test pressure, but that's more along the lines of if you're going from like a t-shirt to a sweatshirt, load it on, give it a pre-press, check it's right before you put the transfer on. But when you're doing something major, like changing the surface area by swapping platens out, it could be way off. It could be like 4 or 5 points too heavy or too light. So you want to make sure that you're really checking that before you load your garment on, just in case, you know, you scorch it. You don't want to have a garment under here. Like I pulled this down 2 or 3 times to get the right pressure. That's 2 or 3 hits that your garment would have had that it didn't need to be. Alternatively, if you pull it down and your pressure is really heavy, that could scorch the garment before you've even started. So always best to just check it with the platen first. So now, if we take our hoodie, I'm obviously not going to apply over the top of this one, but just as an example, if we were to thread this on now, still threadable, obviously, with the caddy stand. But if we load this on here, you can see the neckline and the toggle and everything on there is hanging off. And the pocket is hanging off the back without the need for a pillow. So we've got a completely flat surface area here. And it was a lot quicker and a lot easier for us to slide this on. We didn't have to load it on, get the pillow in, get it into place. We just loaded the garment on, and there's your printable area. So that's sort of like the next step up. A lot of people do prefer lower platens for that particular reason. Some people, pillows do offer an advantage when it comes to certain garments. Like, for example, we printed on a denim jacket at Printing United last month, and we did have a lower platen, but the print area was quite small and the seams on the back of the jacket sort of came in the middle. So even if we could isolate the area, we still probably wouldn't have been able to fit the transfer that we wanted on there. So what I did was use the pillow instead, so that the seams sunk into the pillow and leveled out the surface area, which worked perfectly. So it really does come down to your process, how you like to work, and what garment and transfer you are using. There isn't a one size fits all. There's always a solution for what you're printing on, but it just might be something different each time. So make sure that you're just aware of all your options. The next thing I want to talk about is not having to adjust your pressure. So let's move over to the dual layer fusion for a minute. Move those out of the way. Okay. So with the Hotronix Auto Open, you have to manually change your pressure, which is what we've been doing. So you give it quarter turns each time you want to adjust your pressure ever so slightly, and that's how you can tell. Now, the good thing, like I said before, about the Auto Open is that it does have a digital readout. So you can tell what your pressure is before and after you're fusing, which is fantastic. Every Hotronix press from the Auto Open upwards has a pressure readout. So regardless of which press you get, you can be confident that you're getting the right pressure. You just need to remember to manually change it, unless you have an air-powered machine. Now, we've got two air-powered machines in the Hottronics range, the dual air fusion, which is the one that I have with me here, and we also have a single air fusion, which is essentially the same machine, but it just has one workstation instead of the two that you see here. So some people opt for this one because it is more efficient, but if they're not printing the volume of garments, the single air fusion does just as good a job. The reason I wanted to introduce this to you today was because of the air-powered pressure. So this compressor here, which you can see behind me, this is an air compressor, and this is what controls the pressure on this press. So if you look at the top of this machine here, there's no pressure knob on here like there was on the Auto Open, like there is on the Fusion, like there is on the Max Plan. The Air Fusion and the Dual Air Fusion do not have this pressure knob. It's all controlled by the air compressor behind me. So if I just put this over to the 40 by 50 platen, pre-prepared a smaller one, but we'll go with this one for now. If I was to hold these two buttons in, it automatically does the pressure to what I've set it to prior to the fuse. So regardless of what's underneath here, it will adjust the pressure accordingly, which is such a game saver. It's one of my favorite things about this machine. So if I was to put a really, really thick jumper on here, or like a coat, or a really thick vinyl, something along those lines, and really raise up the level that we're printing on, this machine would automatically adjust how far and hard it comes down so that it's pressing at that accurate pressure every single time, which is just fantastic. Also, if you're putting pillows underneath, it adjusts it for you. So let's just do, this garment's probably going to be a little bit overpressed by the time we're done with the live, but that's okay. So we're just going to load this same hoodie back onto the press, taking our heat printing pillow. So this is set to 4 bar, which is medium pressure. So it's done via a slightly different method, but the principle is the same, medium pressure all round. I'm going to load this pillow into the garment like I did previously, like so, just making sure that the pocket and everything is off. I will put release paper on just to protect that transfer as it goes down. Okay, so I haven't changed the pressure. I have not touched a thing. We're going to send the press back over, set it to 3 so that it doesn't burn. You can hear the pillow moving, but the press is still on 4 bar. So it did everything for me. That has perfectly, or will have perfectly applied if we were to have applied a transfer. And that is all you need to do. So you can see there that the pillow is coming back up again, transfer's still good, and the seams and everything were not in the way. So we put another layer in there and did not need to touch it in terms of pressure, which is great.
If anybody heard that noise as well, that's just proof of how impressive this machine is. Instant pressure immediately. That's the sound of the air being pushed out of the pillow right there.
Yeah, so this, as much as, it does have a raised area, but if you squish it, it flattens when the press comes down, and that's why you have that as the raised area. So that works really, really well. The other thing as well, so obviously we did the pillow on the Auto Open, and then we switched to a smaller platen. Sorry, am I?
No, you're fine. You're good. I'll follow you.
So we switched out the smaller platen and had to manually change the pressure because we changed the surface area, like I said, and we had to make sure it was back on 4 to 6. This one, we've got a teeny tiny 10 by 10 on here, and we're just going to see exactly how it works. So again, haven't changed any settings. I've not touched anything. I'm going to move it back across to the small platen, set it to go down, and it's still on a 4 bar. So we physically did not do anything, and it automatically adjusted the pressure for us. So that's one of the best things you can do with the Air Fusion heat press. I absolutely love it. I mean, there's obviously a million other features that make this press fantastic, but this is just a personal favorite feature of mine because it does just make my life 10 times easier whenever we come down here and we have to print anything. It means I can be a bit lazy and I don't have to worry about manually changing the pressure, providing it's set to the right number on the machine. I'm good majority of the time. So next up, let's try and fuse onto something with a little bit more of an obstruction. So we've got a couple of different tops here. Now these are, I believe, both from Bella Canvas. This one doesn't have a label in it, or does it? Yes, it does. So we have a top here from Bella Canvas. This is more of a vest style. And if I was to load this onto the platen, the issue we'd have with this one is that even though the print area is fairly decent size, the shape of the arms here means that the seams are on the platen. And even if I pull this off as far as it can go, you're going to have the problem with the seam at the bottom. So don't just go like that. I mean, you wouldn't anyway, because you want to print on the actual back of it. But this causes as much of an issue as this does. So you have two options here. You can either swap out the lower platen so that you're isolating the area, or you can use the pillow. So if you insert the pillow from the back, like so, it raises your print area. Perfect. The other thing I'd mention as well is that if you were, for example, to print like this, say you wanted to get a print that was really, really close to the top line, or sort of 2 or 3 fingers down, you would need some form of these seams to be on the platen surface just to physically be able to print on it. The good thing about the pillow is that if there are any raised areas on the pillow, like I mentioned before about the denim jacket seams on the back, it does push them into the platen and create that flat surface for you. So if I was to fuse onto this now, in fact, let's do it. Let's grab a transfer and I'll show you exactly what I mean. I have to find a baby transfer for this. That's quite a big one.
While Molly's finding her transfer, I'll just say hello to everybody that's been joining us on Instagram and TikTok today.
Hello, everyone on Instagram.
Good numbers come through today. Everybody's really interested in your pressure.
Hello, in my pressure.
In your pressure.
In the press's pressure.
Molly's pressure knowledge.
We've gone for another little transfer today. And I'm just going to put this fairly close to the top of the neck. That actually matches really well. I did not plan for that to happen, but that's a very good colour for this t-shirt.
She's secretly lining it up straight now so she can take it home and wear it to the gym.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, put that on there, and then we're just going to use our release paper again. And as you can see here, I've left the seam on the pillow. So in theory, what's going to happen is I'm going to put the release paper down, the press will come over, press it down, and it will push the higher print area into the pillow and create that flat surface for us. So let's give it a try. Bring it over. There goes the pillow again.
Great noise.
Great noise by the pillow there. It doesn't do it on the auto open. No, it's weird, isn't it?
That's proof of just how this machine gives you instant pressure.
Okay, over it goes. Remove our release paper. Peel it off. Clean carrier. Fantastic. And then, like you can see, I want to try and show everyone the squished pillow before it flattens up again. The difference between that and that.
That's really noticeable.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's great.
This is the fuse one. Yeah, and there you go. Absolutely perfect application. Oh, where's the camera?
Here we go, everyone. There we go.
And there you have it, perfect application. So we fused over the seam on that, and I'll come up close so that you can see, but that has gone on perfectly. There's no obstructions there whatsoever. There's no lifting, no peeling, especially at the top here where you've got this really, really fine detail. That's all gone on perfectly. So it is possible to do, and this is why I say it's not like a one product fits all. If you can have all of the products, fantastic. But if you come across a garment and you think, oh, I'm not sure this one will work, there will be another print solution. So we probably could have figured out a smaller platen situation for this, but it would have had to have been, you know, a very specific size to fit this, whereas that one pillow just slipped right in. Problem solved. Perfect print and problem solved is what I was going for there.
Perfect print, pressure, problem solved.
Perfect print, pressure, problem solved. That should have been the title for today's live. Okay, next up, we're going to do another Bella Canvas t-shirt. And this one, you wouldn't necessarily look at this and think that this would be an issue to print on, because technically there's no pockets, there's no major seam showing, there's no zips, etc. However, when you look up close at the different colors in the garment, there is a seam here attaching this one to the white. So when you hold this up, you think, oh yeah, I could print on the middle of that perfectly fine. But dependent on how big the print is and how much of the garment you need on the platen, that could cause a slight issue that's just worth being aware of, right? So we'll load this on and see what the situation is. So obviously you want to make sure that your neckline seam is off. But here, even if I run my fingers over this, that's a fairly thick line to put your transfer onto. And I would just be very cautious of this when it comes to printing. Now, again, we could swap out a lower platen for this, but I am going to utilize the pillow again. Slip it underneath, and this one is the perfect size because it comes just to the edge of where those seams are. So it's going to raise the area that we want to print on, and we'll be able to apply our transfer. Do we have any questions coming in the meantime, Beth?
We have a lot of positive emojis coming in.
Lovely.
Right,
we love a positive emoji.
Through. We've got some hearts, some waves, some great symbols. Is that the great symbol where you put your hand like that, like the okay?
Yeah, I think so. I want to say peace, but I could be, no, that's the other one, isn't it?
Okay. Somebody has asked, do you have a platen to print shoes?
We do. Do we have it in here, or did it go back into?
I think it went back.
Okay, so we do. And if you go onto our Instagram page, Beth has done a very nice new reel showing you exactly how we do that. So basically you put the shoes on to either end, right?
Yes.
And then you can print on either the sides, you can print on the back of them. Very, very effective. So yes, we do have a shoe platen, and we will make sure to link it below after we finish the video.
We have a platen to heat print everything.
We do have a platen to heat print everything.
Isolate sleeves, neck global areas,
hand koozies,
yeah, everything.
So one thing I'm going to touch on quickly, I've just come across a slight problem. So I picked up this Merry Christmas transfer. That camera was really throwing me off. I picked up this Merry Christmas transfer and wanted to put it onto this top. However, because of the pillow I've chosen, the raised print area is only so big. So when I put this transfer on here, it hangs off the edge of the pillow ever so slightly. So if I was to print this, half of the transfer would be at the right pressure on the pillow, and the other half of it would be at the lower pressure hanging off, which means that bit would be likely to peel if we were to do that. So we're not going to use this transfer. We are going to use this one, which is slightly shorter, and that fits perfectly on the print area. So when we're talking about using different size platens, obviously you cannot use a transfer that's bigger than your upper and lower platen because it won't adhere. If you were to hang half a transfer off of the platen when you're fusing, it won't adhere. Same with the pillow. If you hang half of your transfer off the pillow when fusing, it won't adhere properly. So always make sure that your transfer fits within the shape of the pillow. We do have, I think it's 4 or 5 sizes of these. We have a leg one, we have the square one, which I'm using now. I believe we do have a slightly bigger 40 by 50 one as well. So you could cover your entire press bed with the 40 by 51 and have the seams sink into it. And then you could do that larger print. Don't have one of those to hand to me today. I don't believe we have one in here. No, so we're going to stick with the smaller one, but just as a flag to mention to everybody, make sure that your transfer fits onto your flat print surface area to make sure that it adheres properly. Where's my release paper gone? Right, load that on there. And we're going to hit it for 12 seconds. Pillow goes again. Getting used to that noise now.
It was scary at first, but we like it now.
It did make me jump. The first time I ever did that, it did terrify me. That is completely normal. There we go. Oh, it's taking the paper with it. Brilliant. Peel it off. And then we can just pull this off like so. And there you have, oh, sorry. It's okay. And there you have your application. So we've managed to apply right by the seams here, and we haven't had any issues whatsoever. So I'll try and show you up close the thickness of these seams. You can see a little bit here, the raised area. Yep, that's going to be a problem. Yeah, so we've managed to completely avoid that. And obviously it's the same on the back as well. So on the back, you'd obviously want to do a slightly bigger print. So you could just get your pillow, like I said, place it across the entire platen and problem solved. Okay, the other example I'm going to show you, I'm not going to print on this one because we have already printed, but I can still show you the placement. I'm swimming around carriers here that I just dump on the floor during these lives. So for this sweatshirt, which is one of the Tri-Dry sweatshirts, I can't remember which code this is. It's got a tag in it. This is the TR077 from Tri-Dry, one of my personal favorite hoodies. And the issue with this one, from a heat printing point of view, is that it has got not only this zip down the middle, but it also has this pocket on the front, which, like we've experienced from the JH001 hoodie, they cause problems for printing pressure. So what I'm going to do with this one is, on the little 10 by 10 platen that we have here, thread it on so that just this print area is visible. So what we do is load the garment on like so. make sure, this one's slightly too big, but you get the idea. Make sure that your print area is isolated with this press. And then when you fuse on here, this is going to be the only section of the garment that gets any pressure or application. Everything else hangs off. So it means that this zip is completely out of the way, the pocket's completely off, and you are literally just fusing a left chest, which is what you want. So then if we take this off, we then have the back of it, which we have fused on already. Like I say, I won't be printing this one, just demonstrating to you all. So this one is a lovely hoodie, but it does have this seam along the back, which is great from a retail point of view. Really nice structure when you're wearing it. It gives it a real fashion look. But like I say, when you're printing, this is a slightly higher point than the rest of the print area. So can you just whiz me back round to the auto open, please, Beth? Because this has got the right size platen on, I'll demonstrate with this one, but you want to be able to isolate this print area away from this seam. So what we're going to do is thread the garment on the other way round. And you can see here, we've got the neck, the back neck of the hood hanging off here, and the seam at the bottom hanging off the back. So like I say, this doesn't mean that you can't do bigger prints on the back. Like there's all this retail space here that you can print onto. And I believe this is a 28 by 38. So it's a decent size print. And because of the seam, you wouldn't want to print over it anyway, because it might cause issues with it lifting if it doesn't adhere to a flat surface. But you still have a lot of print space here that you can make the most out of. So don't be afraid on printing on garments that have got those extra obstructions, because it's just as easy. You just need the right accessory or the right tools and equipment to do so. So yeah, perfect, easy way to apply to a garment like this. I have got some other t-shirts here that I could have fused, but I don't think we need to. I think we've covered everything. So we did the basic t-shirt on the 40 by 50, covering the over center pressure, making sure that everything's correct, how to get the perfect pressure, why adjusting it is important. We've been over how to use heat printing pillows, how to use platens, how to isolate from pockets, zips, seams, different necklines. I think we've pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about today. So does anyone have any further questions before we wrap up for the day?
Yeah, we've had a question come in about the prices of the machines.
Okay, so we have the auto open here, which we used first, which starts at 1,130 and goes up to 1,720. So this 40 by 50 is 1,720. And the dual air fusion, I believe, is, where is it? Oh, I've got the single air fusion prices. So the single one, which I was planning on using for this video, is either 4,150 or 4,450. I believe the dual air fusion is around 8,000.
7,115, I believe. But
Beth believes 7,115.
Prices are available on styles.co.uk.
There we go. But yeah, this is around sort of the 7,000-8,000 mark, but it's completely worth it. And when you think about how much you invest into a business, 7,000 to 8,000 if you include accessories and things like that. So if you want some pillows, some platens, bundle it all in, put it as one cost, get a bundle on the website and save yourself some money while you're at it. But that as an investment, as the best heat press that's available at the moment, this is not that much of an investment for your business. When you think about people that invest 15, 20, 50,000 on machines and equipment, this is less than 10 for your entire business setup. And it's the top of the range machine. So
spoiler alert as well for anybody that is still with us, we do actually have some really amazing Black Friday bundles coming up. So keep your eyes on our social media, sign up for our emails, and you will get exclusive first access, and you can save some serious money on
serious money, not just money, serious money. Yeah, so Black Friday is not far away, so we will have some bundles available for that.
We have another question. How can someone buy from Saudi Arabia?
I believe that would be one of our sister companies, whether that's Styles Asia or Styles USA would redirect you to the appropriate channel. But if you just pop us a comment or you head to Styles Heat Printing on Instagram, the US side of things, they will be able to point you in the right direction for where to get that.
We can get you presses anywhere in the world.
Anywhere, any continent, as Josh Ellsworth said in his most recent video for us. Best heat presses available on every continent on the planet. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. I do have one more little trailer to play once we wrap up, which is just Andy talking a little bit more about the recent rebrand that's happened. So we were obviously Target Transfers. We've been a part of Group Style for over 20 years, and we've now taken on the family name to be Styles UK officially, which we're all super excited about. So yeah, I will play that for you once we wrap up the live, so you can just get a little bit more context. But I think that's pretty much everything. I'll just mention again the athleisure event that we've got coming up in just over a week's time. We will be doing demos very similar to this, because obviously, like we're doing it with Tri-Dry, a lot of their products do have zips and pockets and all the good stuff that you want from your athleisure, but you need to know how to heat print around them. So we're going to be covering all of that. And we're also going to be covering the sensitive garments and lower fusing transfers, like I already said. We've got Rallowizer coming as well. So if you're new to the business, or you've been in the business for a while and you just want to increase your connections, get some new samples, things like that, they'll be here as well. We are also doing giveaways at both of the sessions. So if you want to be in with the chance of winning some Tri-Dry product and some custom transfers, make sure you come along and do that. You have to come to the event to be entered into the draw. You can't sign up and be entered. You have to physically be in the building to take your prize away with you. So we hope to see you there. And we will also be doing goodie bags as well. So if you come to the event and you don't win the giveaway, you will not leave empty-handed. We have lots of stuff available coming your way. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about today. Thank you very much everyone for joining me. Oh, I have a question. Would you print beanies on that, or is that a cat press? Beanies, I would probably lean more towards the 360 IQ cat press, Gavin, just because of the lower heat on it. You can print a lot more, a lot wider range of hats and a lot more versatile decoration methods with that hat press. But we do have lots of videos and tutorials on the 360 on our YouTube, and if it's something you want a bit more help with, just send us a message and we'll be able to help you out with that as well. So I think that's everything from today's event. Thank you very much everyone for joining me live. If you are watching this on repeat and have any questions, do comment them, we'll still get back to you, and make sure you're here next Friday with another live video.